it is my understanding from our contacts that we've had with the FBI that there are secret files that the FBI has of these contacts that they were having with social media and with mainstream media. And it has been our objective to get a hold of those files, to see the extent of this so we can stop it, we can cut off the funding and prevent, obviously, average Americans being impacted by FBI actions.
Meanwhile, in a since-deleted tweet, Twitter's support account announced Sunday it's going to remove accounts promoting other social platforms. Joining me right now is DPCM Capital Chairman and CEO and former Uber Senior Vice President and Chief Business Officer, Emil Michael. Emil, great to have you. Thanks very much for being here. What is your reaction to all of these Twitter files exposing the collusion between the FBI and Twitter, among other social media companies?
As an American citizen, it worries me that the FBI is looking at things like parody accounts, making jokes online, and calling those threats that Twitter management should look at. Very concerning given the history of the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover. Feels like we're back there sometimes.
Yeah, but what are we going to do about it? I mean, it's clear that they tried to change an election, and they did so by amplifying lies and suppressing truth, and media went along with it.
Yeah, it's very concerning, and I think the way it contrasts this, Maria, is that the telephone companies, T-Mobile, Verizon, they really force the FBI to give subpoenas when they want records on people. And really make sure they justify it. And in this case, you have this sort of very symbiotic, pleasant relationship between past Twitter management and the FBI, where they're almost, saying, hey, sure, we'll do you this favor, we'll do this, we'll check out anything you want, and we'll remove anything you want. And when it comes to elections, doing that is potentially manipulative, and I worry about that greatly as a citizen.
Absolutely. Dagan.
Emil, the question with Elon Musk overseeing Twitter, he's released all of this information. Now the question is, what's going on at the monstrosities of technology? I call them the five horsemen of the apocalypse. It's Google and Microsoft and Apple. I will go on. But what about when you were at Uber? Did the FBI or government come calling to Uber wanting information about the activity of particular individuals?
Yeah, I mean, the FBI has a responsibility, a law enforcement responsibility in the U.S. And when they came to my company, as far as I knew, they had to have a justifiable reason, and they had to have a subpoena or a specific right to get any records related to a crime. And Uber, when there was a crime that happened, reported it to the police. So that's the way it worked. It didn't catch up normal people doing normal things that they have every right to do. And I think that's worrisome when you think about big tech and their influence on not only elections, but on culture and business and lots of other things.
Yeah, and when you have the FBI basically bullying these companies, it's putting them in a position that they have to just give it up as soon as they get a request. I was told that AT&T actually did release communications of certain Congress people at the request of the Democrats. So I don't think there was a subpoena there.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some real problems in how the FBI is asking for information about Americans without what's essentially should be probable cause. And without that, you have a sprawling organization talking to, in some cases, cooperative tech giants, as I call them, and telecom giants, and getting information that they really shouldn't need. And that sort of feels like snooping on Americans' stuff, and worries me about privacy for me, my family, and for others.
Right. And are those people getting retaliation because they may be talking about something or doing something that doesn't fit the Democrat narrative, which is what the FBI is pushing? I mean, the way that they hauled in FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried hours before he was supposed to go under oath, because the Democrats and apparently the DOJ did not want all of this conversation about the millions that he actually donated to the Democrats. Now we know, Emil, fallen FTX co-founder Bankman-Fried has agreed to extradition from the Bahamas to the United States. He will face fraud and conspiracy charges. He's expected to appear in court today. Your reaction?
I don't know if you've read about the conditions of the prison that he's in the Bahamas, but if you have, you might understand his request to get expedite his extradition trial right away to the U.S. Because it's a pretty bad prison. So I think he'd want to do that. He might have more interesting jurisdictional arguments once he's in the U.S. because they can get him on wire fraud. But since he wasn't, FTX International wasn't a U.S. company, maybe he's going to argue something like that. But it makes sense to me seeing, a couple of nights in that prison why he'd want to leave there as soon as possible.
Yeah, and no vegan meals. That's been a sticking point as well. The vermin, the rats and the roaches, but no vegan food. That someone from his family reached out to the authorities in the Bahamas about that. It's all just quite laughable, except for the theft of billions of dollars.
Yeah, and when you see, remember, Rob Roy, who was the workout CEO for Enron, when he testified before Congress last week, he said this was an old-fashioned embezzlement. Right. This wasn't some new, kind of crime. This was old-fashioned taking money from people and using it for yourself. And that's not going to go well in U.S. courts, I don't think. And I think he's looking at some jail time.
Right.
Well, look, you have a history of technology and investment banking, advisory. Tell me about the firm and how you're investing right now, Emil.
Yeah, well, right now, I think what I'm looking at, to invest in is really early stage companies, because early stage companies that are just starting out in this kind of environment, they've actually got their pick of employees. They've got less money floating into their competitors, so they can be inventive, and they have a longer time horizon to get public or to show value. So when you're looking at these early stage tech companies that are investing in artificial intelligence that you've seen all over in the last couple of weeks explode, and they're going to have time to mature those and grow those over the next 5 years, those are the things I'm looking at today as good investments.
Great strategy, Emil. Real quick on Microsoft, it's signaling plans to challenge this lawsuit from the Federal Trade Commission that they want to block the $75 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard. But Microsoft is expecting to argue it will not threaten competition in the video game industry. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's sort of unbelievable that with all the proliferation of video games themselves, video game consoles, that this would be an antitrust issue that Lina Khan at the FTC would go after. And remember, the FTC has been unsuccessful blocking any mergers during this whole administration, except for the publishing merger that they tried last month to block and successfully did. So I think Microsoft's going to walk away with this one. And it would be a shame, frankly, to have it get tied up in the courts for a long time, because there's no basis for the FTC to block this merger, because the competition in this segment is obvious on many dimensions.
Okay, we will leave it there. Great analysis, Emil. Good to talk with you this morning. Thank you, sir.
Good to talk to you, too. Thanks. Good night.
All right, Emil Michael joining us.